right, so good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Athenaeum for our program tonight. My name is Becky Hatfield, and I feel like I can't see everyone. I apologize. I need a footstool. I am the Youth Services Librarian here, and I am very excited to welcome everyone and be here to introduce our presenter, Nikoloz Gvasalia. Good. And also, I would like to introduce Tatiana and Nikolai. They're from Fermata Arts Foundation, and it's because of their generosity and their contribution we've been able to do these amazing art exhibits. First, we had an exhibit of artwork from children of Ukraine, and currently we have artwork from children of the Republic of Georgia. We're going to get started in just a minute, and we'll start off with Tatiana giving us a little information about Fermata Arts, what they do, and then after that we will get into our presentation from Nikoloz, who will be talking about the life in the Caucasus Mountains. So before we get started, just a quick reminder, if anybody needs, we do have a restroom. If you go over to the left side and take the elevator, that'll take you down to the basement. And if anything ever comes up and there's in case of an emergency, we just head straight down the stairs right out here. All right, let's get started. I'd like to welcome Tatiana up, please.
Good evening. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Becky, for your flexibility, for the opportunity to come and to talk. So my name is Tatiana Ishutkina. I'm an executive director of the Fermata Arts Foundation. Our organization was born in 2008. And this is what we do, our mission. And the majority of work, we work with post-Soviet countries. And in 2008, probably nobody see this is coming. And all these years, we communicate with our president, and I actually show you the picture. We call it our supporters. So we got 2 letters from President Obama, we got 4 letters from President Trump, and we got 2 letters from President Biden. And we do communicate with them about everything we do in conjunction with post-Soviet countries and the connectivity and reactions what we get from our states and our exhibitions here. So the majority of our work is exhibitions of children's drawings. We have around 40 exhibits that travel around 5 states right now. It's New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Connecticut. And on other side, we have all the post-Soviet countries except the Turkmenistan. So this is the countries listed that we have exhibition from. And this is the states that we exhibited the exhibitions. And by state, this is Connecticut, our native state, home state. Massachusetts. New Hampshire is the state that likes us the most. 50 cities and towns served every year, and some of the towns take like up to 5 exhibits a year. They just love what we bring. In Vermont, we started in 2011. And we just did Brattleboro because it's closer to Connecticut. But now, after we got the permission from the state library to use the courier service, it became easy. And we just brought today the exhibition number 6 to Vermont from Ukraine. And this is some of the statistics. So this year we did 137 exhibits and talks and served 63 towns. And this is another slide for statistics. That's all I wanted to say, and I want to give the time and the opportunity to Nikoloz, and he will talk about his Georgia. Are you going to flips?
No, it's okay. Hello everyone, my name is Nikoloz Gvasalia. I'm a student of Republic of Georgia at Tbilisi State University, and I will try to present my country to you. So firstly I will start overall about Georgian history. Georgia is located in the Caucasus region, namely in the South Caucasus, inhabited by indigenous people, and they are called Georgians. Georgia is a part of the world history and originates from the first civilizations of mankind. Land was inhabited by Georgians, and it's were located at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, and had close ties with both Eastern and Western civilizations. The shortest land trade and the caravan route from India passed through Georgian territory. Traces of the first Eurasian, like combination of the European and Asian men, were discovered in the southern part of modern Georgia. The Homo erectus, and some scientists call it Homo georgicus, after the place of discovery. It dates back to year 1.8 million, 1.7 million BC. Georgians are mentioned in ancient European sources: Assyrian, Eurasian, Hittite, and others. From these sources, it is known that on the territory of Georgia, as easily as BC, in the second millennium, the following states were formed: Diakia and Kolkha, and these states were located in the western part of Georgia, actually, and Iberia also. Ancient Greek sources also give a lot of information. Homer, Apollonius, Rhodes of Rhodes, sorry for that. And Herodotus, who is called the father of history. In his work History, he speaks more than once about Georgian tribes, and at the beginning reminds the reader that Medea, granddaughter of the sun god Helios, was from the country of golden rune, Colchis. Georgia was known as the birthplace of ancient metallurgists, the country of agriculture. They discovered the artifacts represented the best varieties of wheat. Colchian flax was at the time the most expensive in the world. Georgians are the best winemakers. According to the census conducted by the Russian Empire in the 19th century, there were about 500 more group varieties. And by the way, it was recently the scientists found 8,000 years old science of winemaking in Georgia. So this makes Georgia the first state to make Georgia the state of the birthplace of the wine. All regions of the country have their own eco-culture, which is reflected in our food, songs, and dances. From year 2 BC, from the 6th AD century, Skalds began to issue its own monetary unit called Colchian tetri. By the way, we are still naming our coins the tetris. it looks like this. In the 3rd century BC, on the territory of Georgia, also closely connected with the East Parthian, Sasanian Iran, and the Roman Empire, the kingdom of Kartli Iberia will be formed. The statue of King Farsman II of Kartli was erected by Emperor Antonius Pius in the Mars Square in the Rome. So it was main street of the Rome at this time. Following the proclamation of Christianity as the state religion in Rome, Kartli also converted to Christianity in the 4th century AD, of course, which finally determined its political orientation. It was even events that led to a new phase of confrontation with the Eastern world, because, as you know, the Eastern world were, before the Muslims, they were how it's called, fire. They think that fire is God. Now this small oasis has become a target of the enemy because of the religion. Fortunately, churches from the 5th century still stand on the territory of Georgia, and the lapidity is corrected on their walls describe us almost every historical facts about that era. I have to mention that one of the 14 scripts of the world is Georgian, and the inscriptions written with his script was found in Palestine, which dates back to the 30s of the 5th century. Christianity was preached in Georgia by apostles Andrew, Simon of Canaan, and Matthew in the 1st century. Since immemorial time, Georgia has been a victim of the aggression of the neighboring states, but Georgia retained its identity and united into one state. In the 11th century, and became one of the main political players in the region at the time. So you see Western Georgia, you see Black Sea, and it was from the Black Sea to the Derbent. Derbent is the coast of the how it's called? Another sea. It's actually not a sea. It's just a giant. Wait, 0? Lake, yes, sorry for that. Since immemorial time, Georgia had been, education was priority for the Georgian people, and the 4th century Roman philosopher Themistocles proudly knows that both he and his father Eugene received their higher education in Phasis, modern Poti, which is located in the western of the Georgia. The Renaissance of the Europe is preceded by the Renaissance that began in Georgia, and one of the brightest example of it is the poema "The Knight in the Panther Skin," in a Georgian medieval epic poem written in the 20th and 30th century by Georgian national poet Shotar Rustaveli. If we look at the state administrations at that time, in Georgia, then it is a monarchical state, although there is also a tendency towards progress. In the 20th century, there was an attempt to establish a parliament, and if this had happened, Georgia would be the first state in Europe which parliament, because it would have overtaken the first parliament in Europe, the Spanish Cortes. This is the Shotar Rustaveli's poem. This is the illustration of it. This is the Queen Tamara, and during this monarch, Georgia was the strongest at its history. The outpost of Europe and Christianity is the East Georgia had a big role in the Crusades. It is known that the Jerusalem King Baldwin II paid a secret visit to the king of the Georgia, David the Builder. And in the epic Battle of Tidgori, the flag of Jerusalem fluttered next to the Georgian flag. So actually, David the Builder was the father of the Tamar king, Queen Tamar. Ethnicity diverse population in Georgia has always sheltered under its wing. Even under Nabucodonosor, the exiled Jews asked the Patriarch of Sketa for the right to settle. The Jews have been living in our country for 3,000 years. It is a matter of pride that this is perhaps the only nation and country that has never had anti-Semitic sentiments. And next to the main cathedral of the capital of the center, there is a Jewish synagogue, a Muslim mosque, and Agashta, the fire worshippers. The Arab historian Al-Farik knows that nowhere, even in Baghdad, Muslims do not feel as good as in the capital of Georgia, Tbilisi. We have the same capital, by the way. Tbilisi is still capital of Georgia. And Arabs and Jews pay even less taxes than Georgians themselves. Georgia in the 16th century was already designated. It could no longer resist the. This is some famous portraits of kings, which is related to the Crusades. This is a synagogue, the mosque in Georgia, and this is the 16th century. It was really tough times in Georgia in that times. Enemy from the east, first the permanent raids of Tamerlane, then black and white Turkmens, then the Safavids, Kizildashur, Iran, and finally the fall of the Byzantine Empire in 1453. From the west, and the revival of the mighty Ottoman Empire cut it off from Europe, although she stubbornly tried to be the band of the Christianity at the crossroads of Europe and Asia. Until the end of the 18th century, the political orientation was still forward Europe, but the tide turned in the favor of Russia, Georgia's northern neighbor, as the Georgian people hoped that Russia could protect Christianity from the Iran and the Ottomans. In the 19th century, Georgia became part of the Russian Empire against its will. Along with the statehood, the autocephaly of the Georgian church was lost, and the century-old struggle began to restore its identity. On May 26, 1980, Georgia declared its independence, and February 21, in 1921, the Constitution of the Georgia was adopted, which was one of the most democratic and progressive European constitutions of that time. Unfortunately, the country's independence lasted until 1921, and the country became a victim of the Soviet Russia. And in 1922, the Georgia became one of the socialist republics. Show some pictures. So this is a map of Georgia in the end of the 18th century. You see the western south part of it is taken by Ottoman Empire, and Russia is trying to invade all Georgia. And this is the Declaration of Independence in 1921. And after that comes the Soviet era of Georgia. In the Soviet period, the industry was actively developing, in particular such industries as the electric power industry, mechanic engineering, fuel and ferrous, metallurgy, light and chemical industries. Agriculture was also at a fairly high level. Georgia was not inferior of the leading position of the field of viticulture. Meat and dairy cattle breeding and meat and wool sheep breeding flourished. The network of railways and roads within the Georgian SSR was actively developed, It was during the Soviet period that Georgia became a popular region in the development of domestic tourism. The main Georgian sea resort of the Batumi and Sukhumi. By the way, I want to mention the Sukhumi is currently occupied by Russia. It's located in Abkhazia. Abkhazia is the one of the region of Georgia. Were visited by residents of the Republic of the USSR with a relatively regularity. In 1981, after the collapse of USSR, Georgia again became an independent state. 70 years from 1921 to 1991 are considered the time of Soviet occupation of Georgia. Modernity in the period from 1990 to 1992, the country was under the leadership of President Vietnam Sakudia, under whom market-related relations were introduced in Georgia. However, the new head of state had many opponents. The culmination of the differences between these parties came in January 1992, after the civil war in the center of Tbilisi. Sakudia was removed from his post and left the country. The military council came to power, which in March 1992 announced the creation of the State of Council, and I'll show some slides of it. This is the first president of Georgia, Vietnam Sakudia, was later shot by the military council, and this is a modern president of Georgia, Mrs. Salome Zurabishvili. And after the incident with Gamsakurdia, Eduard Shevardnadze, who was a chairman at the period of the Soviets, became a president of Georgia. The area's resigning covers as many 12 years until 2003. The results of this time for the century were the loss of Abkhazia and South Ossetia. So basically, South Ossetia is also the part of the Georgia region of Georgia, which is also occupied currently. There was a war in 2008, and it's located in the center of Georgia, central part of Georgia. A deep financial crisis, widespread unemployment, and high level of corruption. Of course, all these factors cause deep indigenous of the people. Currently, Georgia is a unitary republic of parliamentary type. The highest executive body responsible for the country's domestic and foreign policy in the government of Georgia, headed by the Prime Minister. In December 2018, Salome Zurabishvili, the first woman president in history of independent modern Georgia, became the president of Georgia. This is the shortest execution for the history of Georgia. If you have any questions, I would like to answer them.
Yeah, I have a question. I mean, obviously we're all very aware of what's going on in Ukraine and the influence from Moscow. Do you feel a lot of sort of certain pressures from Moscow to, to adhere to their sort of ways of thinking and so forth?
So basically, Moscow is trying to play its game in Caucasus, like from beginning of the 19th century. It's always there is no time that Russia don't have like its satellite in the Georgia. They're always like the struggle to become get a Georgia again. But yeah, it's struggling. We're still struggling with this problem.
There's a big chunk of Georgia where the Russians are occupying the country, right?
Could you repeat, please? I didn't see.
So do you have a map of
Yeah, sure. I'll
current Georgia?
So this is basically the Georgia in the 18th century, but you see the red lines. It's the current borders of Georgia. You see here.
Yes.
Yeah. This is a current map of Georgia. So this is here, you see cursor, right? Here, from like here, it's not a full map. Here is located Abkhazia, which is
Occupied.
which was occupied in 1981. It was the first place to occupy. And here's South Ossetia, here, right here. It was occupied in 2008.
And they're still there now.
Yeah. It's literally 20 miles from Tbilisi. And during the war, I was 88 years old. We hear the tanks are going to, and the bombs exploding. So it was really hard times during that time. It's still really hard times in Georgia now. Just imagine you have enemy troops in a 20 mile from your capital city. Yeah, that's really hard. Any more questions? Maybe.
Is there much fighting going on, or is there a guerrilla warfare?
No, it's like it feels like a Cold War more. It's not like an active war, but
Yeah.
still there's always risk of escalation. So we are living under that risk.
Yeah.
So do the people in the occupied areas, do they feel that they are Russia aligned or Georgia aligned?
So there's a pretty specific thing. All these regions that Russia occupied are more like separatist regions, and they let's say they didn't like in the old state, they didn't like that, but Georgia is always tried to like give them like United States, right? I mean, gave them rights to have their flag and everything, but there was a really good place by Russia in their politics. So yeah, I mean, they forced them to fight against us. Yeah.
Did Georgia participate in World War I?
Sure, Georgia was in Soviet Union in that period, and by the way, the Stalin. World War One. Oh, sorry for that. It still participated because it was an empire of Russia, and many famous generals were from Georgia. For example, Bagration, he was one of the generals who helped the Russian Empire to stop the Napoleon. So yeah, technically, yeah.
So just the amount of land mass for Georgia, is there a state that's equivalent to?
The state of the United States.
Yeah, compare.
So no, it's pretty small actually. It's not even maybe size of the Massachusetts. Yeah, it's not really big actually.
So if you were to drive from the eastern part to the western part, just sort of due east-west?
Yeah, it will take like 5 hours, maybe maximum 6. You can even you see here at Tbilisi, you can even saw a border. I mean, here's a Caucasian mountains in northern part, and in good weather you can even see a Caucasian mountains from the center of Tbilisi, capital of Georgia. So it's pretty small actually.
Don't you have oil there?
Unfortunately, no. But our neighbors have. Here's located Azerbaijan in the eastern part of this Caucasus region, and they have plenty of oil actually, and they have a good economy because of that. And yeah, we're struggling. We don't have oil, and our oil sources. We have actually 2 oil sources from Azerbaijan and Russia, and we have bad relationship with Russia, so actually we have only one.
Isn't Armenia right next door?
Yeah, actually Armenia is right here. I'll show you, maybe I'll show you a whole map of Caucasus if I have here. No. Okay, so yeah, I'll try to like show you. So here's the Georgia, right? From the northern border of Georgia is beginning the Caucasus region. So this eastern part is Azerbaijan, and we have Armenia here in southern part of Caucasus, and there's even Armenia. Yeah, it's scripted here, and southern west part is the Turkey, but it's not included in Caucasian region. There's the region end. So technically Georgia is the central part of the Caucasus, southern part of Caucasus is Armenia, and the eastern part is Azerbaijan.
So where is the capital of Armenia on that map?
So it's actually an old map, I'm not sure.
No.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but it's somewhere, it's not far away from Tbilisi actually, it's like 3 hours to drive, so yeah, it's somewhere in here. Here is presented old cities. I mean, these cities are maybe today.
Is that on that slide 2?
Sorry?
Slide 2?
Oh yeah, yeah. Isn't working.
Can you go up on the right
Maybe I'll
side?
try with the remote here. Yeah, great. So now you see the borders. Yeah, now you see the borders. So these are the regions which take Russia. Actually, the 20% of all countries is took by Russia nowadays. And we have Azerbaijan here, Armenia, which is Yerevan, capital of Armenia is located right there, and this is Turkey. So basically, Caucasian region is starting from here, goes all the way here, and includes these 3 countries. Actually, some part of Russia is also involved in the Caucasia.
Where were the Olympics?
Sochi.
Yeah, but where is that?
Yeah, Sochi is right here. It's actually near to border of the occupied region, Abkhazia. It's somewhere right. It's right there. Yeah, it's actually covered. They are using for like a rest area. And we have a Ukraine here. This is a Crimean archipelago, which is now part of the Russia also.
Do you have many Kurds in Georgia?
Yes, actually we have many, almost every nation from eastern world, like Azerbaijanis, Iranians, Kurds, Assyrians, Turkish people, Azerbaijanis, and Russians. Yeah, also we have Russians, many Russians in there. Yeah.
And your education was in Russian for a long time, right? Until, not your personal education, but wasn't the educational system?
Yes, so basically there we didn't have a choice actually. We are part of the Russian world. So our educated people, literal people from literature who wrote literature, people from the government were educated in Russia, in St. Petersburg actually, most of them. Because the St. Petersburg was the like center of the education during the Russian Empire.
But you grew up there, right?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up in Georgia. Yeah, I didn't educated in Russia.
No, but you were educated in.
Oh, you mean a system?
What language were you speaking in in school?
So actually, it's now optional. I mean, it's not like necessary to know Russian because we are independent state, right? And official language is Georgian. So yes, if you will, you can get education in Russian, and many people do, like Armenians, Azerbaijanis who live in Georgia, but most of people are choosing Georgian.
I will add, his elementary school was Turkish school.
Yeah.
And his high school was Ukrainian school.
Yeah, so.
And both schools were in Tbilisi, Georgia.
Yeah, so Tbilisi is quite multicultural city. I would say the most multicultural, which I know from the cities. So, yeah. So my grandmother was raised in all the streets of all the part of Tbilisi, and she knew several languages like Russian, Armenian, Azerbaijani. It's like similar to Turkish. So yeah, it has a really good history. It's really enjoyable. And it's really pretty. I mean, I didn't bring the pictures of Tbilisi and Georgia, but we have like 22 climate regions. I mean, it's like a small, yeah, right, but it's have many like multi nature in it. We have a desert. We have a beach in the western part of Georgia. We have woods. I mean, massive woods, like in a Vermont maybe. So yeah. Yeah, we just don't have a tropical because we are in the northern side of Earth, so maybe more questions.
How long are you in the United States?
For 6 months, actually.
Are you studying here, or? Are you
I'm planning to start here to like improve my English, to like learn more. Yeah, so yeah.
I hope you enjoy winter.
Thank you very much.
Well, the mountains are plenty, there's plenty of snow in the mountains.
Yeah.
And what's your association with the Art Foundation?
So I met these people, and they really helped me. They like hugged me and they are like helping me to realize my ideas, my goals. So they are.
Story came back to 2012.
Yeah.
When we had our exhibition of children's drawings, Ideal House, that traveled in that region. And we came for the opening in Tbilisi and met his parents. His father is a sculptor, and you saw the pictures that he's wrote. And then at that time, the relationship established, and since that time,
Then I arrived here. Then I met them,
and now he is our volunteer.
Yeah, I'm part of the organization actually.
Representing the Georgia and bringing and connecting.
That's right. Maybe any questions? More questions?
Read somewhere that the language that is spoken in Georgia is related anciently to Iberia.
Yes, actually, this part. So there's two Iberia. There's a Western Iberia, which is located in Spain. It's called the Iberian Archipelago, and there's a Eastern Iberia, and there's the questions how these Iberians were called, which was the first Iberia. But yeah, that's the fact that all the western part of Georgia were called Iberia. Yeah, maybe you mean Western Iberia, which is located in Spain now. And yeah, you know Basques, right? It's like a region in the Spain. They have like their own language, which is like pretty similar with Georgian. Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, these are like in the different places of the continent, and still this is still question for the history science. Yeah, that's a riddle.
Iberia was on one of the maps that you showed us.
Yeah, I'll try to find it. So this is a Caucasus and Diochy. These were earlier before Iberia. Maybe I'll try to find it. Are you sure you saw it? Yeah,
Is it the one above that?
maybe. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the Caucasus and Iberia is the ancient states in the place of Georgia. I mean, it was not established like a state, Georgia, before there was a tribes, which were called the Colchis and Iberians. So
I have trouble being from the United States. We just don't have a history that we learn about anyway that goes back these thousands of years.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating.
yeah,
The difference in your history.
yeah. I tell you what, you all should visit Georgia. You'll be amazed when you when you touch history. It is much different. You know, it's nothing to compare with my speech. So I recommend you to come to Georgia to check it out. Yeah.
Well, we visited there and also went down to Armenia, but
Oh, really?
I loved Tbilisi. It was great. And it's quite compact, so you can, or downtown Tbilisi.
When you were in Georgia, in what year, if you remember?
I think, 15, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice to hear.
It's beautiful. Go ahead.
How is it that when I have to fill in a form in America about my ethnicity, it says Caucasian.
Okay.
So where in terms of time history, how far back and how did this happen that
Back
we
in
whites are Caucasians?
1.8 million years ago. Sorry. Yeah, because first Caucasian, first person outside Africa, and was found in Georgia. I mean, the skull was found in Georgia. So it makes the outside Africa the first white male, let's say that, was found in Georgia. So that's why they call it Caucasian actually. Yeah. So we Georgians actually call him Zezva. So Zezva. This is they restored his face and everything. So we call him Zezva. But Zezva is actually a male name, and they found out that he's actually a girl. So
That's a trans story.
yeah, turntable. So yeah,
But is that supposed to be the skull of the one?
yeah, that's the exact skull. Yeah, of Homo erectus, Homo georgicus.
Just missing the front teeth.
Yeah.
So she was just asking, how do you know the gender?
I don't know. I'm not expert in the scientific research, biological scientist, but I'm pretty sure they'll know it.
You've done very well at answering everybody's questions.
Yeah. It's not enough to know about Georgia. So this is Medea. You know her from ancient Greek philosophy writers. So she's like considered as the founder of medicine, Medea. Medicine is coming from her name, actually. Yeah, wine is really sacred thing for us. Almost every Georgian is making wine for it by himself, because our soil is like rich of the wine. So.
And do you make it in the casks in the ground?
Yeah, there's a. Yeah, you were in Georgia.
Well, I saw that in Armenia, but it's so close.
Yeah, the Armenians are considering that it's from Armenia, but actually it's from Georgia. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. So.
But it's literally in the ground.
Yeah, it's in the ground. That gives the unique taste. For the wine. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm listening. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That makes the wine that unique. That method of making it in the ground. It's into like a ceramic big thing, which is right in the earth.
What did you say?
In Spain, they have out of earthenware clay,
Yeah.
these huge, almost like vases in which they each.
Yeah, I heard
called
about it. Yeah.
tinaja.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So maybe this is older. So maybe the Spanish or something.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. You know, because the civilization is mostly coming from east to west, so probably it's from Georgia. I'm not sure.
It's the beginning of all good on earth is Georgia.
Have you seen climate change
In Georgia, yes, I can say that, yes, because basically we have a 4-season. I mean, we have winter and everything, but for last 5 years maybe there's no snow. I mean, when I came here I was happy because I saw snow. Yeah, so yeah, I can say that.
Do you have a picture of the Caucasian mountains to see what?
So basically, I'm not sure I have here the Caucasian mountains picture. But it's on the poster, as I remember. Yeah, it's on the poster. So.
The poster.
But they are quite high, aren't they?
Sorry?
They're quite high, like 3,000.
Yeah, they're quite high. The highest place in the Europe is located is the part of the Caucasian mountain system. So yeah, it's
highest in Europe.
yeah, highest in Europe.
in Europe?
Yeah.
Higher than the Alps then.
Sorry?
Higher than the Swiss Alps.
Yeah. Yes. It's called the Elbrus mountain. Yeah, I remember. It's called the Elbrus mountain. And second one is it's in France. I can't remember. Mont Blanc. Yeah, Mont Blanc. Yeah. So part of the scientists are considering us as the part of the Europe, but part of the scientists are considering part of the Eastern world. But you can't tell. I mean, we have both culture, rich culture in our, in Georgia, so you can't tell. If you ask me, I'd say that it's like more unique. It's not like part of any Western or Eastern sides. I think it's like unique. It's a Caucasian part. Like I think it's a separate thing.
And you had I don't know if we were Mongols, I guess, coming in.
Yeah.
So in the mountains, there are these tall towers where they just,
Yeah. Yes.
slaughter the people that were trying to come.
Yeah, most of these buildings we used to build in the mountains because they were like well sheltered, like well. I mean, there were no evidence someone came from the north. I mean, attacking from the north, because we had a like strong shield by the mountains. So, you know, of course, the modern era it doesn't matter because there's like artillery and aircrafts. I mean, war in 2008, so it doesn't matter anymore, unfortunately.
With the silk, what was called the Silk Road?
Yeah. So Silk Road was called a road which traders used to like get some trade things from Asia to bring in Europe and then trade it. And they used this road. This was the like shortest road. They came from Asia, like here's Turkmenistan now, go by the Azerbaijan, Georgia, and they sailed by the Black Sea to the Europe. So it was the shortest route.
And so they would have gone right through Georgia because they would have gone south of the mountains,
Yeah,
right?
that's right. Yeah, so this like legal illustration of our traditional clothes. So you see the white head there. It's like one of the.
With the blue on it.
I'm not sure. White head with the black lines. It's like it's used. It's like so mountain region people wear to use them. It's like warm. It's made from wool, so
Yeah, felt, I think.
yeah. So it's really warm. So we have many different varieties of the clothes. Almost every region have its own culture. I mean, which is you can see it by like mirror in their food, in their clothes. So yeah. That's why the Georgia is like rich by the culture and history also.
You should speak up.
I am amazed how similar, for example, that the clothes of the lady to the right with a dirndl
Yeah.
is compared to what we have in Switzerland and
Yeah.
Austria.
So yeah, I mean, if you look, I mean, I can't show you views from the mountains, but if you look them, but you know, it's for me, I can't tell the differences. I mean, many people saying that it's like Eastern Switzerland when they see mountains, but for me, I can't see the differences. I mean, the Caucasian mountains are like more like massive, you know. You should see it. So I can't explain by the words. So yeah, but it's pretty similar as a region. Yeah, that's right. Switzerland also was like sheltered like by the mountains.
Oh yes, it
Yeah.
was invaded many times because they wanted to connect the north with the south. It would have been the shortest connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
What does the Georgian flag mean?
Georgian flag mean? So basically don't have like a specific meaning, but it have most of like it shows our Christianity, our culture. Like these four crosses are like telling that four crosses are sheltering the Georgia, I mean covering the Georgia from the enemies. It was like this, and the center big cross is like a Georgia. So maybe, yeah, we can tell this. It's one of the things we think, but it's not like a specific thing.
want to give them the opportunity. They are driving back to Connecticut tonight, so.
Yeah.
They drove all the way here and are driving back today, so. If anybody has any last questions, we'll take those and then we'll give them a chance to pack up and.
So, yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming out this evening, and thank you very much, Nikoloz
Thank you very much.
and Tatiana and Nikolai for coming.
Our work is really
Thank you.
Yeah, this is naturally from our hearts. Yeah, it's all come from our heart.
Who actually
Me.
made that?
Agree.
The display.
Yeah.
Nikolai.
You made it?
Oh, the selfie,
No,
the display.
Yeah.
Nikolai did.
it's from your art foundation?
Yes.
Ну, я хочу немного сказать о этичности выступления студента, жителя Джорджии.
I will translate for him. He's easy to talk in Russian. So he would like to tell a little about ethical presentation by the student from the Tbilisi University.
И с другой стороны сказать с своей точки зрения, это вот этап цивилизации до существующей
And now from his
ситуации.
point of view, he would like to present that the right side is civilization before.
И этап цивилизации, что предстоит увидеть, познать и развить через свои понимания вот второго плана.
And the second part is what will be in the future, civilization of the future.
Это архитектурная просто настройка. У нас есть архитектор Карнеги Меллон.
It's our organization is a combination of poetry, architecture, and this is the architectural like trial to present the civilization.
Ну и вот проблемы, созданные президентом,
And the problems created by presidents.
и мы ищем способы, так как мы инженерные, представители инженерной институции,
And because we are engineers, we are trying to find the ways to resolve the
как
issues.
через жизнь одной из институций бывшего Советского Союза Джорджии выйти на институцию президента Америки.
How through the institution of the Republic of Georgia reach to the President of the United States.
Для того, чтобы находить более цивилизованные способы решения, чем баллистическая ракета.
To find a more realistic way to talk instead of using the ballistic missiles.
Страна Джорджия прошла через период длительной оккупации.
Georgia, as a country, went through the occupation period that was very long.
И мудрая политика руководителя страны Джорджии – это языковые университеты.
And
Как результат, вы сейчас это слышите.
And the wise direction of the education is education. And this is the result of this education system. And you see the result.
Это вопрос этики.
This is the ethical question.
Все я говорю или не все?
Do I say everything or do I not?
Ну и второе понимание, что же ждет Америку в ближайшие 10, 20, 30 и 50 лет.
And another question is what America will experience in the 10, 20, 30, 50 years.
Почему мы стали решать вопрос Зеленского на личной основе?
Why did we start addressing the Zelensky question on a personal level?
А не стали решать вопрос атомной станции, которая взорвалась в Украине и заражает все комьюнити Украины.
But did not address the question when the Chernobyl nuclear power station had a terrible accident and
It's literally exploded.
yes, and it's dangerous for all the Ukraine as well.
Ведь политика Путина оставлять отходы в стране, которую он покидает, это Кыргызстан.
The politics of Putin is to bring the nuclear waste to any country outside of Russia. And we met with the ambassador of Kyrgyzstan, and he told us that the major difficulties they have now, that Soviet Union had storages of nuclear waste in Kyrgyzstan in the mountains. And now, after 70 years after they were built, they are deteriorating, they cracked, and everything go to atmosphere. And the very high percentage of children, especially boys in Kyrgyzstan, they born with genetic disease because of the atmosphere and this nuclear waste.
Спасибо вам за неучебные и нежизненные вопросы, которые мы знаем по отношению и к Джорджии, и к Украине. Спасибо вам за интуитивно вопросы, которые вы задавали, и мы это будем позицию американцев доносить до президента Байдена.
He's saying thank you very much for your questions, that they were not like direct educational questions, but intuitive questions that gives much more, and we will convey your questions and our knowledge in combination, and we will write to the president and bring the issues and explain.
Две головы у коровы, окей?
He is asking if two heads in a, that cow has, is it okay?
Thank you. Ну, а здесь реаппликация детей, которые находятся сейчас в состоянии отсутствия образования, но они хотят восстановить.
This is the reapplication of children that because of the pandemics and everything, they are lacking the education and they want to go back to the life.
Ну и ситуация, опять же, представителями Джорджии, эта вот ситуация показана, куда уйдут дети, вот, которые нарисовали вот там рисунки, там.
And Georgia asked the question, where the children go? And the children presented their drawings in a gallery here.
И будем мы видеть затылки или лица детей.
And will we have the back of their heads? We will be able to see, or we will be able to see their faces.
Еще раз спасибо
Thank
за
you very
ваши
much again
новые вопросы
for your
и
new
новые
questions and your
понимания.
understanding. Thank you.